We're here for a very special episode of EA Pwned.
Yep, it's not the normal show this month. We're here at Developers DICE and we're devoting the whole show to just one game.
This is the Pwned Battlefield 3 special. You've seen the trailer, witnessed the explosions, felt the earthquake, watched the buildings fall, but now it's time to get under the skin of Battlefield 3.
We're going to be interviewing the developers here in Stockholm and taking a peek at exclusive footage from the game.
Here's what's coming up.
We check under the hood of Battlefield 3 as we look at the brand new engine that drives the game, Frostbite 2, a car metaphor.
Then we revisit an old location from Battlefield 2, Karkand, and see how it looks in the latest game. I'll give you a quick hint, it looks better.
We lock and load with lead weapons designer Alan Kurtz, who's going to tell us all about Battlefield 3's physical warfare pack.
And we'll be taking a look at how Battlefield has evolved over the years. They don't do things by halves here at DICE. Whilst it's relatively easy to put out the same war game with a new lick of paint for each new sequel, when approaching making Battlefield 3, they decided to make a whole new game engine.
Now, utilising a combination of technology that even uses the animation system used in the FIFA games, that engine is called Frostbite 2.
Create a new animation system using the Frostbite 2 technology.
I started to look around, looked at stuff like havoc animation and natural motion and things like that. Then I also got hold of this very cool movie that the guys developing FIFA were putting together. And it was a movie about responsiveness and about how a soccer player move on the soccer field. And for me, that was a really believable way of moving, and it had all the weight, and it had all the intensity and all the believability of the characters that we would like to have in the game. And it turned out that they have an animation tool that is called Ant. So we basically just call them on the phone or send them a mail and say, hey, we would like to use your tool. And they were just happy to share that with us.
Will users really notice the difference between Battlefield 2 and this one?
You should see a lot of physicality in there and a lot of interaction with the environment, and also a lot of random things happen. I mean, because they do in real life, don't they?
What types of destruction does Frostbite 2 deliver?
Well, we have the micro-destruction, as we call it, which is basically objects that are around the player, like cover and so on. You can blow holes through walls and stuff to open up new paths and move through environments that were previously locked off. And we also have the really big scale destruction, which is like facades and stuff that can crumble and fall over, as well as set-piece destruction, which is more or less scripted big destruction events.
So will this type of destruction change the way people play shooters?
Absolutely. I mean, since your cover is destructible, you can't sort of sit in one position for very long. As far as I know, this is the only game that uses this level of destruction.
We've improved on almost all aspects of the sound for Battlefield 3.
RPG, Mike 12!
We've not gone after a cinematic soundscape. We've worked towards a more documentary style. And so we've concentrated more on how the world responds to the sounds rather than the sounds themselves. It's the player that triggers it. The sound system is actually in control of the camera, so when an explosion goes off, there's a camera shake, and that's triggered by the sound engine.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because then we can also trigger the rumble in the pad. So all of these things just improve the player feedback, and that's something Frostbite is really good at.
We can do really, really big landscapes, and we can also do really tight sort of interior fighting and so on. So we can actually have both in one level.
So what are some of those environments?
We have city environments, we have more rural landscape levels, we have interiors, we have all kinds of different types of environments. And that's really one of the big benefits with Frostbite 2 is it allows us this flexibility and to just do what we want to do. And it's really the contrast and the flexibility between driving a tank, playing as an infantry soldier, flying a jet that makes our game unique.
Frostbite 2 has helped us in two ways. For the artists and for the designers that work with engine, they do everything real time. And this is something we've never ever been able to do before. So now when you change stuff, you will see it on the fly. Frostbite 2 supports more or less unlimited light sources. We can place hundreds of lights in a room, and it feels like you are actually there. For the gamers, the big benefit here is that everything will be so much more realistic, it will look better than ever before, and the iteration speed is so quick for the developers, so the gamers will get so much more quality experience.
Do you think this is the best looking Battlefield game?
By far. Absolutely, you haven't seen anything like it. This is awesome. You will be so impressed.
RPG, Maxwell!
It's recently been announced that the forthcoming Need for Speed The Run will also be using the Frostbite 2 engine.
But we're not here to talk about that today, we're here to talk about Battlefield. Now those of you who've played Battlefield 2 would have spent many an hour killing or being killed in Karkand. Good times. And the good news is, you can go back there in Battlefield 3. Pay attention, it's an exclusive. The Back to Karkand expansion pack reimagined classic Battlefield maps Wake Island, Sharkey Peninsula, Gulf of Oman and Strike at Karkand. We caught up with Nicholas Fagrius, the pack's lead designer, and David Spinier, who designed the original maps, for a chat.
2 months ago we basically thought of how could we make a really cool experience for the core fans and the new fans, and it felt kind of natural to revisit the epic maps of BF3.
So you designed some of those maps.
I did Strike at Karkand and I did Sharkey Peninsula.
And why do you think people really liked Strike at Karkand? Apparently it's one of the top maps ever.
It has the infantry stuff. It's super intense. I can barely survive 5 seconds on it. But it also has the kind of the mix of vehicle in there as well. Also, I had a very specific kind of design idea for it when I designed it originally, and I think that part kind of came through.
And Nicholas, you've been applying the Frostbite 2 touch to Strike at Karkand. How's that been for you?
It allows us to do a lot of things. So it's dynamics and destruction and lighting and a whole bunch of stuff. I just want to make sure that the core gameplay is there so that fans can recognize, and when they jump in, it feels like they've been there and they recognize the scenery, and but still, the new bling attached to it.
In terms of destruction, how does that alter the way people might play the map?
You can, blow a hole in the wall if someone's hiding and no one is safe behind cover and so on. So that interesting, new gameplay dynamic will be in Karkand as well, the new one. So, and that's one of the challenges, to make sure that fits with the core gameplay and make sure it's fun.
And in terms of the vehicles, is it going to have the same vehicles that you put in there, or is it going to be different ones?
You're going to see some of the old vehicles from BF2 and refamiliarize yourself with them.
Do you think Frostbite 2 gives you more freedom in terms of being more creative with the Strike at Karkand map and the other 3 as well in the pack?
Yeah, it does. It's a really dynamic engine and we can do tons of stuff. But again, we want to make sure that the core gameplay is still there. But then on top of that, we want to add all the new stuff that Frostbite offers.
And will there be